What up? What up? It's Garage Gym Homie. And today I'm talking about what makes a good AA sponsor. What makes a good sponsor? Talking about sponsorship. Is it worth it? Before we get into this here, please click the subscribe button. I got content coming out all the dang time for you. So click subscribe and let's get into this, man. This is an important conversation for me because I know deep down in my heart, in the deepest place in my heart, that my purpose is to be helpful, is to help addicts and alcoholics. I didn't go through everything I went through for that to not be my purpose. That's my purpose, and I know it, and I don't question it. So these talking about addiction and recovery is the number one thing that I'm here to do. So here we go, man. So listen, first of all, this is my opinion. You know, this is my opinion on what makes a good AA sponsor. Before I even start talking about this, I just want to say, ultimately, God is going to guide you, man. God is going to guide you. I really believe in my heart that we are going to seek out the sponsors we're ready for. If you are somebody who's not ready to throw your heart and soul into the program, then you're going to find a kind of sponsor who's going to, vibe with that. You know, they might tell you, just go to meetings every day. You're going to find the kind of sponsor you're ready for. I really believe God's going to guide you. Aside from all the stuff I'm about to tell you that I think makes a good or bad sponsor, ultimately God's going to guide you and put you with the person you're ready for, the right person. So let's get into this, man. The first thing is they have to be an addict or alcoholic. They have to be, now you might say, well, if they're a sponsor, of course they're an addict or alcoholic. The truth of the matter is this, and this is a controversial thing to say, but I don't say things that you might be used to hearing, man. Not everyone in AA is a real addict or alcoholic. And I could talk about in a separate video what makes someone an addict or alcoholic. But the fact of the matter is not everyone in AA is a real addict or alcoholic. There might be a lot of heavy drinkers in AA, or somebody might have gotten a DUI and the court sent them there and they have to go to meeting. Getting a DUI alone is not what makes someone an addict or alcoholic. So just because somebody's offering to sponsor you does not mean they're an addict or alcoholic. So that person might have been able to go to meetings and stay sober, where a real addict or alcoholic needs a spiritual way of life in order to recover. So you can't have someone sponsor you who doesn't think like you. So it's okay to make a judgment call. And I'm speaking from the big book. I'm not speaking from my head, man. I'm speaking from my heart in the book. That doesn't mean we say to someone, hey, you're not an alcoholic. But an alcoholic can easily talk with another alcoholic or addict for a few minutes and say, yeah, this guy thinks like me. I know he's an addict or alcoholic. He thinks like me. He has this disease that I have. So that's number one. They have to be an alcoholic because they'll never be able to sponsor you properly if they don't know how to think like you, if they don't know how you think. The next thing, man, and this is not a definite rule, but when I went to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, I went to AA meetings for years, man, and nobody ever offered to sponsor me. They always stood there. In AA, you hear people say, raise your hand if you need a sponsor. It's really sad that AA is like that, because when I was ready to get sober, I was willing to do whatever it takes. I was ready to be done for good. I walked in an AA meeting and somebody walked right up to me and they didn't even ask. They said, I'm going to sponsor you. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. All of these years before, I'd gone to AA meetings, and nobody ever walked up to me, man, and said, I'm going to sponsor you. Nobody ever did that. So this was the first person who offered himself, and that's how I am as a sponsor. There's a brand new person in that room. They're probably terrified to ask for a sponsor. The alcoholic is riddled with fear. Fear runs through us. So as a good sponsor, I'm not going to wait for someone to ask. I'm going to walk right up to that newcomer. I'm going to say, do you have a sponsor? I want to sponsor you. I'm going to sponsor you. I'm going to take you through these steps. I'm going to show you how I got well. So somebody who's offering themselves to people, that's a good sponsor. That's somebody who, in my opinion, is doing real AA. They're giving themselves. They're not at that meeting for themselves. I don't go to an AA meeting for me. I have God and spirituality and the 12 steps and helping addicts and alcoholics. That's what keeps me sober, not sitting at a meeting. I'm at a meeting because a newcomer might be there who needs someone to guide them. My purpose is to be giving, not to be taking. It's to be giving. So a good sponsor, man, is going to be offering himself and not just letting newcomers walk right by. That's my opinion. So hopefully, you find someone who's offering themselves to you, who wants to sponsor you, wants to give their guidance through taking you through this step. The next thing, a good sponsor is going to have you rely on God and spirituality. My sponsor, always from the beginning, when I told him, I'm going to give you a call if I can't figure this out, he would say, no, you're not. You're going to call God, and you're going to sit there and listen. And then if you can't find it that way, then you can give me a call. A good sponsor is not going to have you thinking they're God. Oh, I need you to call me every single day. I need you to go to a meeting every day. A bad sponsor will have you relying on AA meetings and on them like they're God. A good sponsor, and this is my opinion, is going to have you relying on the 12-step program, your higher power, what I call God. Not, call me every day. They're going to say, call God every day. When I first found my sponsor, I said, I'm going to go to a meeting every day. He said, no. He said, you're not going to go to a meeting every day. You don't want to overdo it. You find a couple meetings you like and go to those every week. You call God every day. You pray every day. Growing spiritually, that's how you stay sober. Relying on meetings. Oh, meeting makers make it. The only thing meeting makers make are meetings. You see people go to meetings twice a day. They're still the same person. This is a 12-step spiritual program of action laid out in the book, and it's about forming a relationship with God, and that's what real AA is. Relying on God to solve your problem for you that you couldn't solve yourself, not relying on the meeting. The meetings can't be the higher power. The meetings aren't God. Look up at the sky and the beautiful, amazingness out there, man, and this beautiful world and all the love and everything. The table didn't make that. The AA meeting didn't make that, man. Something else made that. The tables didn't do that. The tables are human, so they can only be so much. The power of God is something you can come up with your own concept with, and a good sponsor is going to have you relying on that. A good sponsor is going to introduce you to the big book, and they're going to take you through it immediately. When I met my sponsor, man, he introduced me to the book. He told me the difference right away. He said, do you see where we're at? I said, yeah. He said, where are we? I said, we're at AA. He said, no, we're not. We're at an AA meeting. This is just the fellowship, the socialization part of AA. Then he showed me the book, the big book. He said, this here is AA. It says it right on the front. AA is a 12-step, spiritual 12-step program of action laid out in this book right here. And he took me through that book immediately. I would, step 1 and 2, step 3, I got down to the 4th step. As fast as I was willing to go, he was willing to take me through that book. A good sponsor will take you, because this disease of alcoholism is life or death. So a sponsor is telling you, easy does it, one day at a time, take your time with these steps, all those one-liners, all that craziness, that's not good. I have a disease that's literally, not figuratively, literally trying to destroy me. My disease is telling me, take your time with the treatment. Don't rush it, man. Don't rush it, because my disease doesn't want me to do the 12 steps. It wants me to take it easy so the disease has a chance to get in there and say, man, you don't really have to do that first step. You don't have to do that third step. You don't have to really do that fourth step. Take it easy, because it wants to destroy me. It doesn't want me doing this. So a good sponsor is going to take you through the book immediately. There's no time to waste. I have a life and death disease, and I cannot afford to wait on the treatment for it. The treatment is not in going to AA meetings. The treatment is not in calling my sponsor. The treatment is the 12-step spiritual program of action laid out in that book that's about growing my spiritual life and building a relationship with God. I can't take God out of all of the steps, because then all I'm left with is myself. And you know where that ended up, for me. So, I've been guiding myself my whole life. Now I was ready to let something else guide me. And the only thing I have in between me and another drink or drug is my relationship with God. And it's tried and true, man. Every time I sponsor someone and they relapse, it's because they didn't go to do these 12 steps immediately. They waited on it. We said the third step prayer, they never completed their inventory. They never followed through with the contract to do the fourth step and fifth step and the preceding steps. It's always the same story. So a good sponsor, man, is going to introduce you to the book and take you through it right away, because there is no time to waste. Another thing for me that I saw with a good sponsor is they're going to give you the information out of the book, man. They're not going to be sitting there saying a bunch of one-liners. Oh, yeah, easy does it, one day at a time, meeting makers make it. Don't think, don't drink, just go to meetings. Oh, play the tape back. There's enough one-liners in AA to kill all of us, man. And they come from people's heads, man. They don't come from the big book. Progress, not perfection. Oh, the big book says we had to enlarge and perfect our spiritual life. That doesn't mean it's perfect. To perfect something means we strive to make it perfect, or else, this disease will destroy us. One day at a time. We take things from the book and we run with them. And that's not what the book intended. The book didn't intend for you to say, well, one day at a time. The book says it's okay to say that we're done drinking and getting high for good. It's okay to say. Your disease wants you to say, oh, one day at a time. I might not drink today, but maybe I could drink tomorrow. That's the disease, man. The real book, man, I didn't sit there with my dad and make amends to him and come from my heart. If I thought there was a chance I'd ever have to sit there and make amends to him again. We don't make amends unless we're sure we're never going to have to do it again, which means it's okay to say we're done for good, man. Don't let the disease trick you. So a good sponsor is going to tell you something you're probably not used to hearing. It's going to come from the heart. A good sponsor is going to talk from the heart. You're not just going to hear a bunch of one-liners and stuff out of the side of their neck or stuff out of their head. Are they from the big book, or are they from their big head? So a good sponsor is going to speak from here, man. It's probably going to be saying something that you probably aren't used to hearing, something that comes from the heart, something spiritual about relying on God. God first, sponsor second. That's what my sponsor always told me, man. God first, sponsor second. A good sponsor will set you up to rely on God. And then a good sponsor, man, is going to hold you to the big book. It's going to hold you to the big book. When I met my sponsor, he told me right away, he goes, if I ever tell you anything that doesn't line up with what's in this book, you disregard it. You do not listen. This big book is everything. He said, because I might wake up one day and think I wrote the book, because we have this disease, man, and it tricks us. So he told me straight up, anything I say that doesn't line up with what's in this big book, you disregard it. So a good sponsor is going to hold you to the book. If you call your sponsor and hopefully you're in fear, or you're angry, or you're selfish, or you're dishonest, or you have something to talk about, he's going to bring it back to the big book. What does the book say about it? What is the process? What do we do? Did you pray about it? You know, did you talk with someone about it? Did you make amends? Did you turn your thoughts towards someone you can help? You know, a good sponsor, man, is always going to take it back to the big book. It's not going to, the instructions aren't going to come from his head. It's not my sponsor's program or his way or his sponsor's way. It's the book's way. And that's what a good sponsor will do, man. It's going to hold you right to the book. So a good sponsor is not going to tell you a bunch of stuff to do that doesn't line up with what's in the book. Oh, you do the fourth step this way or this way or this way or this way. It's the book's way, man. If you veer off from the book is written by the first 100 people who recovered from alcoholism, sharing their experience with us. So if we do what they did, we'll get what they got. So if we change the formula, man, if we don't do exactly what they did in that book, oh, fill out this worksheet for your fourth step. Oh, fill out this worksheet. That's not what's in the book, man. The book doesn't say you go and get some worksheet or something else or some crazy, or you do this kind of writing for step 2. Or that's all stuff from people's heads. The book is the book, and if we don't do exactly what's written in that book, we're not going to get the same result as the people who wrote it. I don't want to veer off from the book. I want to recover from this disease like they did, and I did recover. I recovered because I did the exact instructions out of the book as it was written. I didn't veer off from that. So a good sponsor will hold you the book. He's not going to tell you things that don't line up with what's in the book. And remember, a sponsor's main purpose is that somebody who's had a spiritual experience, a spiritual awakening as the result of the 12 steps, and he's ready to take you through the steps at once, which means immediately. That's a sponsor's job. You could talk to him about whatever you want, and it's got to be somebody you can trust. A good sponsor, you're going to be able to tell anything you want to, because that's your one human lifeline. And if you can't say whatever you want to that person, then that's not a good sponsor for you. You have to have one human lifeline, and that's going to be your sponsor that you could tell anything to. Every dark cranny from the past, every single thing. And if you can't do that with that person, that's not a good sponsor for you. You might be a good sponsor for someone else. So ultimately, God's going to guide you and bring you to the right person. So just remember, man, they got to be an alcoholic. They should offer themselves to you, man. They should have you relying on God and not them. God first, sponsor second. Call God every day. Don't call me every day. Call God every day. God number one. Takes you through the book immediately. Doesn't have you relying on the wrong stuff. It's always about spirituality number one. Hopefully they're not using a bunch of played out one-liners that come from the head and not the heart. Somebody who holds you to the book, talks from the heart, and somebody you can trust, man. Somebody you could tell anything in the world to. Somebody who thinks like you. And somebody who's treated, man. If you see how they live their life, man, there's no little lies. They're not cutting corners. They're sticking to the book, and they're holding themselves accountable. So that's what I got, man. That's, to me, what good sponsorship is. And God is amazing. And I still have the same sponsor today that I did, 9 years ago, who walked in that door and offered himself to me, man. So that's what AA is about. Offer yourself to people, because the key, man, to happiness, man, is to think about other people's happiness. God bless all of you, man. Together, let's get this dang muscle. Let me know what you think of this. I love you, man. I'm out.